Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kitty Carlisle Hart. For over 30 years, I've spent many happy evenings with my husband, Moss Hart, and Alan J. Lerner. Tonight, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to our evening for Alan J. Lerner. Every lyric you will hear on the stage sung tonight was written by Alan, and most of the words as well. Here is what Alan wrote about the first night of My Fair Lady in New York. It is taken from his autobiography, The Street Where I Live. I paced back and forth and worried. Fritz stood near me, staring at the stage, the picture of satisfaction. At the end of the first scene, Morse rushed over to us, and it was the first and only time I ever saw him frantic. Fritz looked at him with an amused but sympathetic smile on his face. "My darling Morsey," he said, "if you don't know this is the biggest hit ever to reach New York, you'd better come with me and get a drink." And he led Morse from the theater to the bar. And when they returned about 5 minutes later, with a little bit of luck, had stopped the show. And here to recreate the moment, please welcome from London, members of Alan's own production of My Fair Lady, Mr. Peter Bayliss, Mr. Peter Durkin, and Mr. Peter McIntyre.
Thanks for the hospitality, George. Send the bill to Buckingham Palace. You see, boys, I told you not to go home. It's just faith, hope, and a little bit of luck. The Lord above gave man an arm of iron so he could do his job and never shirk. The Lord above gave man an arm of iron, but with a little bit of luck, with a little bit of luck, someone else will do the blinking work. With a little bit, with a little bit, with a little bit of luck, you'll never work. The Lord above made liquor for temptation, to see if man would turn away from sin. The Lord above made liquor for temptation, but with a little bit of luck, with a little bit of luck, when temptation comes, you'll give right in. With a little bit, with a little bit, with a little bit of luck, you'll give right in. Oh, you can walk the straight and narrow, but with a little bit of luck, you'll run amok. The gentle sex was made for man to marry, to share his nest and see his food is cute. The gentle sex was made for man to marry, but with a little bit of luck, with a little bit of luck, you can have it all and not it. With a little bit, with a little bit, with a little bit of luck, you won't get it. With a little bit, with a little bit, with a little bit of blooming light.
Face down there! How's a woman supposed to get out there?
How do you get out, missus? Hey! That's no way to talk to a lady. Now, let's try and be neighbourly, boys. After all, the Lord above made man to help his neighbour, no matter where, on land or sea or food. The Lord above made man to help his neighbour, but with a little bit of luck, with a little bit of luck, when she comes around, you won't be home. With a little bit, with a little bit, with a little bit of luck, you won't be home. You're always throwing good, is that you? And with a little bit of luck, a man can duck. Oh, it's a crime, a man to go philandering and fill his wife's poor heart with grief and doubt. Oh, it's a crime for a man to go philandering with a little bit of luck, with a little bit of luck. You can see the blood and don't find out. With a little bit, with a little bit, with a little bit of luck, you won't find out. With a little bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rudolf Nereyev.
Now once again, the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
Дождь в Испании падает чаще на поляне.
I think she got it. I think she got it.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
I think she got it. By George, she got it. Now once again, where does it rain?
On the plain, on the plain.
And where is that soggy plain?
In Spain, in Spain. The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain. Ain't Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
No.
Hurricanes hardly happen.
How kind of you to let me come.
Now once again, where does it rain?
On the plain, on the plain.
And where is that blasted plain?
In Spain, in Spain. The rain stays mainly in the plain. The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robert Meadmore.
When she mentioned how her aunt bit off the spoon, she completely done me in, and my heart went on a journey to the moon. When she told about her father and the gin, and I never saw more enchanting farce than the moment when she shouted, "Move ya bloomin' ass!" I have often walked down this street before, but the pavement always stayed beneath my feet before. All at once am I several stories high, knowing I'm on the street where you live. Are there lilac trees in the heart of town? Can you hear a lark in any other part of town? Does enchantment pour out of every door? No, it's just on the street where you live. And oh, the powering feeling just to know somehow you are near. The overpowering feeling at any second he might suddenly appear. People will stop and stare. They don't bother me, for there's nowhere else on earth that I would rather be. Let the time go by. I don't care if I can be here on the street where you
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Van Johnson.
Thank you. Gene Kelly and I were lucky enough to be in Brigadoon. It was Alan's first big movie. It was quite an experience. About that time, Alan also wrote, "My own taste has always run toward the romantic. I like to write stories that move me, with the implicit hope that they will move others too. This does not necessarily mean love stories, but it usually does. As a rule, it is not sadness that brings tears to my eyes, but a longing fulfilled. Brigadoon contained miracles, but I do not believe in miracles. I've seen too many." And now one from London, Miss Sally Ann Howse.
Aren't we two go walking together out where there's a valley of trees, out where there's a hillside of heather, caressing gently in the breeze? That's what I'd like to do. See the heather, but with you. The mist of May is in the gloaming, and all the clouds are holding still. So take my hand and let's go roaming through the heather on the hill. The morning dew is blinking yonder. There's lazy music in the rill, and all I want to do is wander through the heather on the hill. There may be other days as rich and rare. There may be other springs as full and fair, but they won't be the same. They'll come and go. This I know, that when the mist is in the glow,
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Judy Kay.
At 16 years I was blue and sad. Then father said I should find a lad. So I set out to become a wife and found the real love of my life. His name it was Chris and the last was McGill. I met him one night picking flowers on the hill. He had lots of charm and a certain kind of touch and a certain kind of eagerness that pleased me very much. So there neath the moon where romance often springs, I gave him my heart and a few other things. I don't know how long that I stayed upon that hill, but the moon had disappeared and so had Christopher McGill. So I went home and I thought I'd die, till father said, make another try. So out I went to become a wife and found the real love of my life. He came from the lowlands, said he. I saw him and knew he was perfect for me. Just one thing that puzzled me, and it always will, was he told me he had heard about me from his friend McGill. We quick fell in love and went down by the creek. The next day he said he'd be back in a week. And I thought he would, for now how was I to know that of all the lowland laddies there was never one as low? Now Pa said, daughter, there must be one, someone who's true or too old to run. So I'm still looking to be a wife and find the real love of my life.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Meg Bossert and Mr. Richard White.
Maybe the sun gave me the power, for I could swim like a Loman and be home in half an hour. Maybe the air gave me the drive, for I'm all aglow and alive. What a day this has been, what a rare mood I'm in. Why, it's almost like being in love. There's a smile on my face for the whole human race. Why, it's almost like being in love. All the music of life seems to be like a bell that is ringing for me. And from the way that I feel when that bell starts to peal, I could swear I was falling, I would swear I was falling. It's almost like being in love. When we walked up the brae,
What a word did we say? It was almost like being in love. But your arm linked in mine made the world kind of fine.
it was almost like being in love.
All the music of life seems to be
Like a bell that is ringing for me. And from the way I feel when that bell starts to peal,
I would swear I was falling.
I could swear I was falling. It's almost like being in love.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jane Powell and Mr. Leroy Reeves.
To me.
All right, so I said it, so you heard it, so you're mad, so what?
So this is the last time I ever go to a party with you.
Will you put that right in?
You're always making cracks. You're always making cracks.
What?
Oh, you're always humiliating me. Didn't your mother never teach you no manners?
I never had no mother. We was too poor.
Hey, what's the matter with you lately? You used to tell me you loved me. You used to treat me like a high-class dame. Well, isn't you?
So are you.
So you admit it.
I ain't admitting nothing.
I'll give you one more chance. Do you love me or don't you?
No, I don't.
Quit stalling. I want a direct answer.
Listen, kid. There's something about you I just can't understand.
Yeah?
How could you believe me when I said I love you, when you know I've been a liar all my life?
You had that reputation since you was a youth.
You must have been insane to think I'd tell you the truth.
How could I believe you when you said we'd marry?
When you know I'd rather hang than have a wife. I know I swore I'd make you mine.
Now wouldn't you know that I would go for that old line?
How could you believe me when I said I love you, when you know I've been a liar?
You sure have been a liar.
A good-for-nothing liar.
A good-for-nothing liar.
Oh, my doggone cheating lie.
You said you would love me long.
Oh, what?
And never would do me wrong.
Stop bending the suit.
And faithful you'd always be.
Me? Oh, baby, you must be loony to trust a lower and low-to-timer like me.
You said I'd have everything.
Get her.
A beautiful diamond ring. A bungalow by the sea.
A bungalow yet? You're really naive to ever believe a fool of baloney phony like me.
I must have lost my head.
You never lost nothing you never had.
What about the time you went to Indiana?
I was lying, I was down in Alabama.
You said you had some business you had to complete.
What I was doing, I would be a cad to repeat.
And what about the evening you was with your mother?
I was romping with another honey lamb.
You think you swore our love was real?
Baby, let us not forget that I'm a heel.
How could I believe you when you said you loved me?
When you know I've been a liar.
Nothing but a liar.
Oh, my doggone cheating liar.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Douglas Fairbanks, Jr.
That was Leroy Reams and Jane Powell in a number which Alan wrote with Burton Lane for the film Royal Wedding, way, way back in 1950, as many of you will remember. And in the movie, it was performed by Fred Astaire, of course, and the very same Jane Powell, who one presumes must have had a most fascinating portrait hanging in her attic. Alan was, as we all know, a great romantic. As Alan himself said, the female sex has no bigger fan than I. Writing of love, though, he says, immature as the whole romantic kit and caboodle may seem to be, to go through life in a permanent state of self-protection, incapable of giving because of the fear of exposure, is not my idea of maturity. The heart may have its reasons, of which reason knows nothing, but reason all too often has no heart.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Liz Robertson and composer Charles Strauss.
The iron bed, the noisy hall, where every sound comes through the wall, the drafty room, the mended clothes, the window box where nothing grows, another life, I want another life, with satin sheets beneath my skin, a maid who brings my breakfast in, and anywhere I ever go, I'm someone who they want to know. Another life, I want another life. Someone rich may come along and make a queen of me. Maybe there'll be 3 or 4, but I don't care, as long as their love is filled with clothes to wear, with hopes to burn and dreams to spare. I wanna live so near the sky, so high I'll never hear another train go by. Another life, there's got to be another life somewhere for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. RobertGoulet.
Thank you. Alan, this is from Alan's book, his words. Quotes, when Bobby first auditioned, he called me Bobby. We didn't notice that he had a rather peculiar walk. He wasn't bow-legged, but somehow it seemed as if a horse was missing between his legs. And his entrance in the forest scene where the queen had gone a-maying was more like the last scene of High Noon. We tried everything to correct it without making him self-conscious. Now, one day, I happened to glance down at Fritz's shoes, which he had made for him in London, with lifts so high that when he took them off at night, his ears popped. In the key of C. Eureka! I thought, I've got it. I think I've got it. I added that last, I think I've... We told Bobby to go around the corner and buy himself the highest pair of elevator shoes he could find, which he did. And until he got used to them, he walked like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. But he soon straightened up, and if his gait was not completely aristocratic, at least he never appeared to be the leading man or dancer in a ballet choreographed by John Wayne. Thank you, Alan.
As for the Leaning Tower of Pisa, well, I leaned as often as I could toward my leading lady at that time, Miss Julie Andrews, as Queen Guinevere, and I think I sang this next song to her, about 700 times. Maestro? If ever I would leave you, it would be in summer, seeing you in summer. I never would go, your hair streaked with sunlight, your lips red as flame, your face with a luster that puts gold to shame. But if I'd ever leave you, how could it be in autumn? How I'd leave in autumn, I never would know. I've seen how you sparkle when fall nips the air. I know you in autumn, and I must be there. And could I leave you running merrily through the snow, or on a wintry evening when you catch the fire's glow? If ever I would leave you, how could it be in springtime, knowing how in spring I'm bewitched by you so?
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Richard Kiley.
Way out here, they got a name for wind and rain and fire. The rain is Tess, the fire is Joe, and they call the wind Mariah. Mariah blows the stars around, sends the clouds a-flying. Mariah makes the mountains sound like folks was up there dying. Gal, and she had me, and the sun was always shining. Then one day my gal. I left her far behind me, and now I'm lost, so gallward lost, not even God can find me. Mariah, 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 they call the wind Mariah, and here they got a name for rain, for wind and fire only. And when you're lost and all alone, there ain't no word but lonely. And I'm a lost and lonely man, without a star to guide me. Mariah, blow my love to me. I need my girl beside me. They call the wind Mariah. To continue, Alan. They say the difference between the Oriental and the Occidental is that the Occidental is afraid of mystery and the Oriental glories in it. Some Asian gene must have wandered far from home and gotten mixed up with mine, because nothing outside of the theater has intrigued me and sustained my unflagging interest more than reincarnation, extrasensory perception, and all that is called metaphysical. Undoubtedly, it is responsible for my penchant for fantasy as subject matter. I even wrote a musical about it called On a Clear Day You Can See Forever. Tonight, the star of the original Broadway production of On a Clear Day You Can See Forever will sing the show's title song, Mr. John Cullen. But first, that show's hit song, Come Back to Me, Len Carrier singing Come Back to Me.
Hear my voice where you are. Take a plane, steal a car, hop a freight, grab a star, come back to me. Take a plane, catch a breeze, on your hands, on your knees, swim or fly, only please come back to me. On a mule, in a jet, with your hair in a net or a towel wringing wet, I don't care. This is where you should be. From the hills, from the shore, ride the wind to my door. Take the highway with dust. Break the law if you must. Move the world only just. Come back to me. Blast your hide. Hear my call. Must I fight City Hall? Here and now, damn it all, come back to me. What on earth must I do? Scream and yell till I'm blue. Curse your soul, when will you come back to me? Have you gone to the moon or the corner saloon and to rock and to ruin? Mademoiselle, where the hell can you be? In a crate, in a trunk, on a horse, on a drunk, in a Rolls or a van, wrapped in mink or saran, any way that you can, come back to me. Come Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. John Cullum.
Could anyone among us have an inkling or a clue what magic feats of wizardry and voodoo you can do? And who would ever guess what powers you possess? And who would have the sense to change his views and start to mind his ESPs and Qs? And who would ever dream of hearing phones before they ring, or ordering the earth to send you up a little spring, or finding you've been crowned the queen of lost and found? And who would not be stunned to see you prove there's more to us than surgeons can remove? So much more than we ever knew, so much more were we born to do. Should you draw back the curtain, this I am certain, you'll be impressed with you. On a clear day, rise and look around you, and you'll see who you are. On a clear day, how it will astound you as the glow of your being outshines every star. You'll feel part of every mountain, sea and shore. You can hear from far and near a world you've never heard before. And on a clear day, on that clear day, you can see forever and ever and ever and
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Miss Kitty Carlisle Hart.
As with true artists, Alan was always aware of his place in the general scheme of things. He wrote, "Each time I write now, I try to avoid humiliation. Lyric writing is a popular art form, but a minor one, somewhere between wood carving and photography. You write for what you like, and when it is finished, you hope to God that other people will like it too. Unfortunately, it takes a long, long time and a lot of other people's money to find out." Our next song is the Ascot Gavotte from My Fair Lady, as designed by Cecil Beaton, of whom Alan wrote. Cecil is the only man I know who can design clothes that are both beautiful and witty at the same time. His very look is such that it is difficult to know whether he designed the Edwardian era or the Edwardian era designed him.
Big moment at the Ascot opening day.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Hal Prince.
Thank you. Alan again. My father said to me one day when I was about 18, "Let me tell you something about women, son. You will have your troubles with them. We all do. There will be arguments. A marriage may not work. There may be times when you get into bed and things may not go well. But always remember this. No matter what happens, it's her fault." The extraordinary part is that he truly believed it and viewed the romantic streak in my nature as a child's disease that I would outgrow. I did not. And whatever I have written clearly indicates it. The next two songs certainly indicate it. They come from Alan and Burton Lane's Carmelina, a lady who we shall say took a leaf from Papa's notebook. In the original Broadway production of Carmelina, Georgia Brown created the title role. And tonight, fresh from previews of the Threepenny Opera, we will be welcoming her once again with Why Him? But first, Hal Linden, Len Cariou, and John Cullum will portray three ex-GIs who return after the war to Carmelina, their wartime love, for one more walk around the garden. And this is as good a time as any to acknowledge Alan's collaborator, Burton Lane, because out of all the songs that Alan wrote with Burton, this was their favorite. Burton Lane.
Say goodbye and close
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Georgia Brown.
What can I say about his face? Except the features are in place. He doesn't even look into him. Why him? Why him? A million stars are in the skies, but none are ever in his eyes. When I'm alone at night, I groan at night. Why him? Why do I dress for him? Why the hell of eating less for him? Why do I itch for him? Have an eyelid with a twitch for him? And when I see him coming near me, and my head begins to swim, I keep repeating as I nod, my God, why him? There's nothing bulging in his arm. I'm not addicted to his charm. Where he should be, he isn't slim. Why him? Why him? You'll never find him in a crowd. There is no lining to his clouds. I rack my brain at night, in vain at night. Why him? I've never laughed with him. It's like standing in a draft with him. I'd stick a knife in him just to see if there is life in him. If he's a knight in shining armor, then my vision's growing dim. I know I'd pray there'd be a man somewhere who'd hear my prayer. But Lord, be fair. Why him? Why him? Why him? Why him?
And Miss Brown's escort, Sting. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Leonard Bernstein.
My dear friends, I am proud to present to you the radiant young soprano from the Metropolitan Opera, Miss June Anderson. Miss Anderson is going to sing a song that Alan and I wrote way back in 1976, when it was our country's 200th birthday. I think it's one of his great ones, and he thought it was one of mine. But mutual admiration aside, the song comes from one of my favorite scenes in all musical theater, one probably not known to most of you, since it occurs early in Act One of a tremendous flop called 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, a musical that should have worked, perhaps even become a landmark in our theater, but did not, owing to reasons too complex to relate. In this particular scene, which I love so much, a certain lady of amazing grace and moral strength named Abigail Adams has been traveling all day in a stagecoach, deeply lost in the swampy Maryland woods, when suddenly she comes upon a 14-year-old runaway slave child hiding out in the night. She asks him if by any chance he knows how to get to the brand new Capitol that George Washington had cleverly arranged to be named after him. He sure does little Lud, for that is the boy's name, Lud, since he too is headed for that same new city, laboring under the delusion that everyone is free in the nation's capital. Mrs. Adams undertakes his protection and hauls him aboard to guide them to Washington. They arrive to find a shambles of a house with no staircase to the second floor and no place to hang out the laundry except in the grand East Room. Never mind, says Abigail. We'll make it all work. Yes, ma'am, says little Lud. Miss Adams, this is the most grandest house that ever was. And Abigail, touched by him, says,
Would you like to work here?
Yes, ma'am.
We need a servant bell. You will be the bell.
Is you ringing now, ma'am?
Come here, Lud. Take care of this house. Keep it from harm. If bandits break in, sound the alarm. Care for this house. Shine it by hand and keep it so clean the glow can be seen all over the land. Be careful at night. Check all the doors. If someone makes off with a dream, the dream will be yours. Take care of this house. Be always on call. For this house is the hope of us
I know what you're talking about now, ma'am. I think.
If you don't know, you will. Because there'll always be someone who's trying to steal it away from us. Take care of this house.
Yes, ma'am. I swear.
If bandits break in,
I'll be right there.
care for this house.
Shine it by hand.
And make it so clean the glow can be seen all over the land. Be careful at night.
Check all the doors.
If someone makes off with a dream,
can remember everything as if it were yesterday. We met at 9.
We met at 8.
I was on time.
No, you were late.
Ah, yes? I remember it well. That brilliant sky.
We had some rain.
Those Russian songs.
From sunny Spain.
Ah, yes, yes. I remember it well. You wore a gown of gold.
I was all in blue.
Am I getting old?
Oh, no. Not you. How strong you were. How young and gay. A prince of love in every way.
Oh, yes. I remember it well.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Garson Kamen.
Oh, that Alan. As a friend, he was incomparable. As a talent, he was awesome. Alan and Fritz Lowe wrote a musical set in France, Gigi. And having secured his idol Maurice Chevalier to play the quintessential Frenchman, Alan traveled to Paris. And he writes, by now, Chevalier was over 70, and I was curious to know what effect this would have on Maurice Chevalier, the great boulevardier, the great lover. Chevalier said, rather philosophically, well, I'm too old for many of the things I used to indulge in. I don't have the second glass of wine after dinner anymore. And I don't rush about as I used to. And I don't really even feel that the ladies hold too much interest for me. This particularly astonished me, and I said to him, are you serious? And Chevalier said, not only am I serious, I'm glad. So Alan went home, and he wrote one of the wisest songs he ever wrote, and that anyone over 29 will recognize some of its sentiment. And to sing it, we have the youthful Mr. Hal Linden.
Poor boy, poor boy, downhearted and depressed and in a spin. Poor boy, our youth can really do a fellow in. How lovely to sit here in the shade, none of the woes of man and maid. I'm glad I'm not young anymore. The rivals that don't exist at all, the feeling you're only 2 feet tall. I'm glad that I'm not young anymore. No more confusion, no morning after surprise, no self-delusion that when you're telling those lies, she isn't wise. And even if love comes through the door, the kind that goes on forevermore, forevermore is shorter than before. Oh, I'm so glad that I'm not young anymore. The tiny remarks that torture you, the fear that your friends won't like her too. I'm glad I'm not young anymore. The longing to end a stale affair, until you find out, ha, she doesn't care. I'm glad that I'm not young anymore. No desperation, no midnight pacing the floor. What liberation to know that sight on all fours couldn't be yours. Too old for a wedding date in June, but not for a weekend honeymoon. What better life could heaven have in store? Oh, I'm so glad that I'm not young anymore.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Julie Andrews.
Don't talk of stars burning above. If you're in love, show me. Tell me no dreams filled with desire. If you're on fire, show me. Here we are together in the middle of the night. Don't talk of spring, just hold me tight. Anyone who's ever been in love will tell you that this is no time for a chat. Haven't your lips longed for my touch? Well, don't say how much. Show me, show me. Don't wait until wrinkles and lines pop out all over my brow. Show me now. I could have danced all night. I could have danced all night and still have begged for more. I could have spread my wings and done 1,000 things I've never done before. I'll never know what made it so exciting. Why all at once my heart when he began to dance with me. I could have danced, danced, Using words other than Alan Lerner's to describe him is like carrying coals to Newcastle. But I did want to talk about this singular man in a way that he would perhaps never have talked about himself. I can't imagine Alan talking about his generosity, but he was the most giving of men.
not only with his talent, but with his humanity. Brilliant, erudite, sophisticated, yet he could put the right words into the mouths of rough and tumble prospectors, Cockney flower girls, opportunistic fathers, young French innocents on the brink of womanhood, jaded old reprobates, not to mention mythical Scotsmen, kings, knaves, and assorted villains, virgins, and vagrants. He gave them all eternal life. Alan was also an impeccable lyricist, as we have heard this evening. He worked, he reworked, he tore up page after page of wonderful words, because to him, they were not perfect. Yet finally, his words flowed and marched and soared from the stage with an inevitability that was the mark of not just a craftsman, but of an artist who truly cared about his people. And Alan did care very deeply, not only for his creations, but for all the people involved in the creative process with him. He loved with an optimist's hope for a happy ending prior to the curtain coming down. And with fond memories and also deep gratitude to Fritz Lowe, Burton Lane, Moss Hart, Rex, Richard, and Richard, it's my privilege to bring you just a few more of Alan's perfect words. They come at the end of Camelot. King Arthur has just knighted the young boy, Sir Thomas Malory, and commanded him to run home and keep the flame of the Round Table alive. Who was that boy? King Pellinore asked Arthur. And Arthur responds, "Oh, one of what we all are, Pelly. Less than a drop in the great blue motion of the sunlit sea. But it seems some of the drops sparkle, Pelly. Some of them do sparkle." Each evening from December to December, before you drift to sleep upon your cot, think back on all the tales that you remember of Camelot. Ask every person if he's heard the story, and tell it strong and clear if he has not, that once there was a fleeting wisp of glory called Camelot. Camelot.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Walter Cronkite.
Thank you, Julie. Alan described you thus. In the theater since she was a child, she meets any challenge with a smile and an unbatted eyelid that makes you wonder how Britain ever lost the empire. Always gracious, always willing, An amazingly quick study, both musically and dramatically. I cannot remember one moment in the years we worked together that was anything but joy. This evening, has been about song. And Alan wrote, "Song is the joint art of words and music, two arts coalescing into a third. The relation and balance of these two arts is a problem that has to be resolved anew in every song that is composed." In the final sentence of his autobiography, Alan concludes, "In the end, I have come to realize that I write not because it is what I do, but because it is what I am. Not because it is how I make my living, but how I make my life." Perhaps for Alan J. Lerner, the words of Franz Schubert also hold true. Whenever I sat down to write a song of love, I wrote of pain. And when I wrote of pain, it became a song of love.
広島は今年被爆45年を迎えます。激動する世界状況の中で広島の使命は何かをテーマに、ロサンゼルス、ソウル、ボルゴグラード、ハノーバーと